Hello friends, welcome to my channel Bioimagine. Today we have a very distinguished speaker in our channel. This person needs no introduction, but still I have prepared a small introductory speech in his honor. So the speaker today is Dr. Kausar Niaz. Dr. Niaz completed his PhD in molecular biology from the Department of Biosciences, Jamia Millia Islamia, in collaboration with NICPR, that is National Institute of Cancer Prevention and Research in Noida. His key research area was molecular characterization of tumor suppressor gene in human papillomavirus infected cervical cancer in the Indian population. Dr. Niaz later did his postdoctoral research fellowship at Indiana School of Medicine, Indianapolis, USA. He has more than a decade of experience in education and research with specialization in development of cancer biomarkers. He worked with global leaders in molecular diagnostics and life science research-based MNC and multi-speciality tertiary care hospitals in India. Dr. Niaz has published several book chapters and research articles in peer-reviewed journals. Now, as a part of social responsibility, he proactively engages in creating mass awareness campaigns about common diseases in women and girls that is preventable in nature. Aligning with this thought, he started a webpage known as Bioservices. The core objective of Bioservices is to unite the scientific community and the masses on a common platform to transfer knowledge and common preventable diseases in women and girls in India. I welcome you, sir, in this channel.
Thank you, Dr. Somnath, for your kind introduction. And first of all, I would like to congratulate your initiative, Bioimagine. And I believe with the help of this channel, you're going to breeze scientific community and the masses. And it is very much required because I strongly believe science is of no use unless and until, it goes to a mass actually. And that is directly or indirectly used for community welfare. So without going further detail, let us, start presentation. I hope you can see my slide now.
Yeah. We can see the slide.
Thank you. So today we are going to talk about management of cervical cancer screening and HPV vaccination programs during and after the COVID-19 pandemic. We chose this topic considering that this is one of the issues that we need to discuss. And even during pandemic or after pandemic, we are going to discuss about how to manage this particular cancer. So we all know this cervical cancer or any other cancer named where that particular cancer is origin. Like let's say, for example, if it is in the uterus, then it's called uterine cancer. It is in ovary, then it's called ovarian cancer. We all know, like breast cancer. So similarly, if you look at this diagram, the reproductive system, female reproductive system I'm talking about, cervix is upper part of the vagina, lower end of the uterus, and this play very important role, in women's reproductive system. So cervix is like, a kind of organ which we less talk about because of the social stigma related to STI, because this particular cancer is caused by a human papillomavirus, and most of the time it passes from male to female, female to male through sexual activity. So in order to raise more and more awareness globally, this teal and white color is used, and January is chosen as a month. Every year, the whole entire month awareness drive is related to this particular cancer. And we will discuss in brief why this particular cancer is very important, why we need to talk about it, and what are the preventive methods we have to prevent this particular cancer. So as we all know about the COVID and how it's impacted globally and day-to-day life, it's not only in health, but other segment as well, like education and at a different community level. Now we, as a scientific community, we unite together to provide a solution even during this pandemic time. And we can see there is a great collaboration across the border to tackle this particular disease. So there is one survey that recently done, with the help of social media. What are the change in practice in gynecologic oncology during COVID-19 pandemic? A lot of countries, they have participated and they share their experience in their respective country, and this data was compiled by Gynec Oncology, European Institute of Oncology in Italy. And they concluded that COVID-19 affected the treatment of gynecologic cancer patients, both in terms of prioritization and identification of strategies to reduce hospital access and length of stay, because this is one of the concerns nowadays because of the limited bed that we have in most of the hospitals across the country because of this pandemic. This particular institute, NICPR, National Institute of Cancer Prevention and Research, earlier it was known as ICPO, Institute of Cytology and Preventive Oncology. So they are mainly working on this common cancer, and most common cancer I have named few, like this breast, cervix, oral cavity, lung, and colorectal. I have also done my thesis from this institute on cervical cancer, where we try to characterize the molecular tumor suppressor gene, HPV infected and HPV non-infected cases. So I'll just try to share my experience as well as my knowledge related to this particular cancer and how we can prevent it, because this particular cancer is very common in India, and this is 100% preventable in nature. Though it is 100% preventable in nature, we're still losing almost one life in one woman, you can say, in on average 7 minutes. So you just imagine how this particular this deadly disease is, and why we need to talk more and more about it. I would just like to share one of my favorite book and one chapter number 10, Pathways to Greatness, Coming Together for Change, by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. So in 2015, he shared one data, the ratio of doctor, and the number of people that the doctor is like usually taking care of. So one doctor per 11,500 people, number one. This is from the government hospital data, and every government hospital serves around 61,000 people with just one bed catering to 1,833 patients. So ratio is not like very good favorable condition where healthcare can take care of each and every individual across the country because of the population and the infrastructure that we have. But yes, because of this COVID pandemic, infrastructure, whether it's a laboratory support or hospital care, a lot of development has been done in past couple of years, and we still continue to develop more and more infrastructure where we can bridge the gap between the number of beds and the patient actually. So one bed is like ratio, if you look at the ratio, 1,083 patients per bed. That was the data from 2015, but yes, in 2020, 2021, this one is minimized because of the infrastructure that we have developed to handle the pandemic. But still, why we need to go to the hospital? So the whole idea is to more and more we talk about this particular disease, and among family, friends, and take a charge as an individual, as a social responsibility to prevent this particular cancer, because it is 100% preventable in cancer. So at least what I'm trying to draw attention is, let us assume a cervical cancer free future, and how we can do that. So in the small journey, what I have done so far, in last 1 decade, bioservices mainly, bring scientific community and the masses on a common platform to transfer knowledge about common preventable disease in women and girls. So I'm very thankful to my friends and faculty, those who supported me throughout my journey, where I started in 2011, this particular portal. And we really, cover almost all segments of society, like whether it's corporates, whether it is educational institutions, or any community, with the help of non-government organization, NGOs. We are working with them closely, and we have started a lot of programs like train the trainer program, so that we can spread the knowledge more and more, and that knowledge can be utilized to manage this particular deadly cancer. So I'm not going in detail about this particular initiative on the website, but yes, I would like to highlight a couple of services that we are focusing on to improve the community. So if you look at the particular logo, this teal and black, as I said, teal is the awareness color of cervical cancer. So I started with this particular cancer, and black is the community where we are adopting and trying to, educate them, because awareness is a key, and awareness is a prevention behind this particular deadly disease, because it's 100% preventable in nature. And the service area is like, we have well-defined 3 service area. One is prevention and disease control, where we are talking about a lot of, healthy diet, exercise, vaccines. That is, these are the tools that common disease in women and girls can be prevented. And in other service area is public engagement activity. So activity like this, online, offline, on-site, these we continuously engaged with the audience in order to educate them. And at least our intention is to ensure that even if we save one life, that is very important, from community aspect, to save at least one individual with this kind of effort. The last one is health education and research, where we mainly focused on bringing a lot of recent publication to the public domain with the help of our expert. And recently we started another service where we are discussing a lot about the genetic disorders with the help of certified genetic counselor. And they are joining us, they are coming to this platform and sharing their knowledge, and that will be very good to bridge the gap between doctors and the geneticist, as well as the patient whom services are required. So these are the 3 basic areas where we are mainly focusing. And it just to go a little bit, in history about this particular cancer. So this particular scientist, George Nicholas Papineau-Kolov, was a Greek scientist, and he was mainly working in the area of physiology and cytology. Early 90s, 47, during Independence Day, he developed this particular technique, and this come into practice after 1950s, full-fledged across the globe. And this, in this particular technique, that Pap smear, we all know is very common nowadays, and everybody is aware of about the Pap smear test and how it's going to prevent the cancer. So in this case, just I'm brief about this particular technology, because I guess everybody is not still aware about this Pap smear. So usually cells from the cervix, usually collected by sampling kit. And then in case of this particular conventional technique, where samples are fixed on the slide with the help of fixative, and then observed directly under the microscope and reviewed by expert nowadays in any pathology lab, where they can differentiate the normal cells with the abnormal cells. So this technique, when it comes to the picture, it really helps to bring down this particular, cervix cancer. Why? Because this technique helps to detect the early lesions and early changes, you can say pre-cancerous stage. And at that stage, it is very easy to manage. And, if treatment is required, clinical intervention is required, at least we have enough time to manage that particular cancer, and we don't have to wait really for to develop full-fledged cancer, and then the clinical intervention is usually done in most of the cases. So cervical cancer is not like problem where it can be ignored, because it's a global health problem. And in 2019, the strong statement has been come up with WHO, that if we do not act, deaths from the cervical cancer will rise by almost 50% by 2040. So if you look at the incidence rate, it's a global health problem, and equally it's a mortality is also almost everywhere. And we are contributing almost 1/3 of the global death across the globe because of this particular cancer. So this particular virus, as I was talking about, is little different from other virus and coronavirus and all, because every virus, they have their own way to, infect and damage the body organ. And, they have their incubation phase. Some virus, they usually show symptoms within a week, within initial infection time. But in this case, especially with this particular virus, mainly those virus who are under the high risk. What I mean by high risk and low risk is there are more than the 200 types. And out of that, the 14 high risk has been identified. And out of 14, if you look at this number 16, 18, 31, 30, these are the 14 under 14 category types. 16 and 18 is most common still globally, apart from the other types. So if we infected with this particular high risk virus, then there is a high chance, if it persists, it will lead to the cancer if there is no clinical intervention or treatment is intervene as per clinical diagnostics. So this, as I was talking about, having said that, this particular virus having really no early symptoms, and that is the reason most of the time when it develop cancer and lot of cells has damaged due to this particular virus, then symptoms usually noticed by that individual, those who are infected with this particular virus. So how to prevent it and how to deal with this, I'll discuss during this presentation. But before that, if you look at the impact of the infection, it's not only cancer. Cervix or cervical cancer is the organ that is affected by this particular virus in female. But yes, in male also, like anal cancer, penile cancer, oral cancer is common nowadays. But as compared to cervical cancer, these cancers are not as common as cervical cancer. And that is the reason most of the time, wherever there is discussion on HPV, cervix cancer is the most common one where we need to address. Why? Because as compared to other cancers, this particular cervical cancer is 100% preventable in nature. So we all know that prevention is better than treatment or cure. So HPV infection can cause 6 types of cancer, as I shown in the previous slide, but doctors only routinely screen for cervical cancer. So how to check for the other 5 cancer that is equally affected by this HPV? So the other 5 types may not be detected until they cause health problems. So the solution is vaccine. So HPV vaccine is cancer prevention and is very well established fact, safe and approved by FDA. So one vaccine, 2 dose gives you a protection against 6 types of cancer. I would like to draw your attention a little bit about infection and the different stages we cross, and talk about this Nobel laureate Jorgensen, German scientist who won the Nobel Prize in 2008 for understanding the etiology of this particular HPV infection and the cervix cancer. So after infection, if you look at this now, healthy cells that will convert it into the cancer cells, uncontrolled cell division is there, and it progress towards the cancer. So it's not like an overnight process or a month process. It take almost 10 to 14 years incubation phase from infection to cancer development. So this nature has given us enough time that it will passes from normal to cancer through different phases. So in CIN1 and CIN2 cases, we have seen, if we detect early with the help of pathologist or histopathologist at the earliest stage, we can prevent it and we can treat it, and 100% regression is there to the normal rather than progress towards the cancer. But yes, if CIN2 plus, there is also evidence that it goes to the normal, but CIN3 and other advanced cases is very difficult to come back to the normal. So I urge all of you to regularly screen yourself. If you get a chance to vaccinate the eligible whether it's a boy or girl in your family. So I'll go through that also in brief, so that you'll have a fair knowledge about screening and vaccination. But before that, we always talk about the symptoms. What are the common symptoms? So if you look at the cancer, like all gynecological cancer, the most common one is cervical cancer, ovarian, uterine, vaginal, or vulvar. And if you look at the symptoms, like most common symptoms is abnormal vaginal bleeding or discharge. Sometimes some pelvic pain or pressure is there. Sometimes, this tummy will fill very quickly. Sometimes bloating is, also noticed. Abdominal or back pain is also noticed sometimes. But the question is how to differentiate between, common cancer and the symptoms that we usually noticed. So if you look at this particular cervical cancer, ovarian cancer, uterine, till vaginal, except this vulvar cancer, in all cases, we have a discharge, or you can say abnormal bleeding. But most common one is in cervix cancer. And usually this particular bleeding is reported during sexual intercourse and spotting between the periods also. Now, the question is, how long we have to wait if we have such kind of symptoms? Usually, we have to wait, for 2 weeks. If that system persist or continue like that, then immediately we need to consult a clinician or your consulting doctor. And this report has been documented by Center for Disease Control USA, where I've taken this particular slide. So usually don't rush in the first week, because most of the time body do go through the different changes because of our lifestyle and food, diet, or sometimes mental stress. So hormonal changes do occur mainly in the female, and due to that hormonal changes, we get this abnormal spotting or discharge also. So don't panic. Wait for 2 weeks at least, and then if yes, then you definitely can go and consult your doctor and get yourself checked. Now, the important part is screening. And I always focus on the screening, even if vaccination is there. I'll let you know why I'm focusing on the screening. So the important part is when to start and when to stop. At the age of 21, we usually start the screening. And then 21 to 30, it's strongly recommended to go for Pap test, alternate 3 years. I already briefed about the Pap test. I'll discuss in detail in coming presentation. Then if you are between 31 and 65, then you have to include HPV test alternate 5 years as per recommendation. I'll let you know why this HPV testing has been included in this particular age. And then if you're at the age of the 65 and in last 10 years, you have normal test reports, like whether it's a Pap smear or HPV DNA test, then you have to stop. So cervical cancer screening is a testing for pre-cancer lesion, number one, and cancer among the women who may have no symptoms and feel perfectly healthy. So these are the screening tests that I would like to discuss with you, and is very common nowadays, and almost everywhere we are doing all this testing. So in clinical setups, the doctors usually go for this testing through VIA, visual inspection by acetic acid. What they do usually in this case, they put the acetic acid straight away on the cervix, and if H2 white is there, then it's not healthy, it's not normal. And further, it will examine with the help of punch biopsy or taking cells from there, and go for other testing like Pap smear, liquid-based cytology, or HPV DNA testing. So what is the difference between this conventional Pap smear and liquid-based cytology is the rate of transfer of cells that has been collected from the cervix is comparatively lower as compared to this particular technique, that is liquid-based cytology. And the reason is, in this case, we directly take the sample from the cervix and fix it on the slide with the help of this collection kit. But in this case, we collect the sample from the cervix and then put it into the vials filled with the buffer. So there is 100% transfer of the sample is there. So even if we collect few cells from the cervix, all those cells has been collected in this case, and you will get a better background and clear picture of cytology report like you can easily differentiate between healthy and cancerous or pre-cancerous cells. This DNA testing, why is important nowadays? Because one is you have to don't go to alternate 3 years to go the test as in these two tests. HPV test you get done, let's say by this year, then you have to wait for another 5 years. In that case, you don't have to frequently visit to clinic, and this during pandemic time, we strongly recommend to go for HPV DNA testing, so that you can, number one, you can collect the sample by yourself and send it to the laboratory, and they will give you the report, and at least for 5 years, you don't have to worry if you are tested negative. So nowadays, most of the organizations, they are promoting, self-sampling, and one of the reference paper I have quoted, published in BMJ 2018, HPV self-sampling is gaining interest. Why? Because it's, number one, is accurate, and we come to know this causative agent, the main causative agent against this particular cancer, that is HPV. So this is based on the real-time PCR, and this is very much strongly recommended if infrastructure support us. So the good part is, after pandemic, this coronavirus, the COVID-19 testing, we all know this test, confirmatory test, is based on the real-time PCR. So at least in government and private setup, we have a real-time PCR, enough real-time PCR to, handle this mass screening in future, after pandemic, for HPV testing as well, because the technology is same. Same kit can be run on this real-time PCR that is used for COVID-19 testing by real-time PCR. So everybody, at least nowadays, know that what is city value, what is real-time PCR testing. So I hope after pandemic, this particular test is going to gain more momentum, and it will help to eliminate the cervical cancer, at least from India and globally. So considering that HPV self-sampling do not require traveling, or implementation could be promoted during this COVID-19 pandemic, allowing the reduction of transmission of SARS-CoV-2 virus. Now, if you want to collect your sample, how you're going to collect? It's very easy process. And you can go and you'll find a lot of YouTubes, and this company, they come up with a manual and kit insert, word diagrammatic flow. It's very easy to open the kit, and there will be a mark, and the mark is red mark usually, and you have to insert till the red mark, and then rotate 3 times, and then you just put that collected sample into the vial, as I said, and send it to the nearest laboratory. So you really don't have to go to the clinic and collect sample by a nurse or a clinical doctor in any hospital during this time. You can collect the sample from anywhere, from home, from office, wherever you feel comfortable, and send to the nearest laboratory, and they will pick up the sample from your home or office, and then the test report can be shared with you electronically, and then you can go for the teleconsultation. So during pandemic, this is a very good option, and we must request everyone to go for this particular testing in order to save your life, because early detection is prevention, and that is the only treatment that we have. And how to detect? This is the only method, at least in case of cervical cancer, we can detect, and we can collect the sample by our own self for at least HPV testing. Now, the other aspect that I was talking about, the vaccination. So first of all, this particular vaccine is safe and effective. And usually, when it's provided to the young girls between 9 to 13, it protects against HPV, most common HPV type, high risk like 16, 18, as I said. And therefore, it protects against the cancer. So these are the 2 vaccines that's most commonly available in India. Cervarix, where it covers type 16 and 18, and Gardasil type 16, 18, and 2 low risk 6, 11 also called anogenital, what is reported because of this particular HPV strain. So another vaccine, they recently come up with a 9-valent, where they cover 9 strain of HPV, that is Gardasil 9. But it's still not common in India, and but this particular test is approved by FDA, and some of the countries, they adopted this particular Gardasil for both boys and girls, and it covers maximum type of HPV types, so that will prevent both male and female, boys and girls, from this infectious disease. Some of the countries, they really play a very important role, and their leaders, their political leaders, they taken the initiative to for the free vaccination under national immunization program. And one of the country I usually give, out of these 65 countries, recently Australia is a very classical example where they have dropped down the number of cases of cervical cancer, in their countries by adopting this particular national immunization program. In India, we have done pilot study in some of the states like Punjab or Northeast part. But yes, we need to start this national immunization program as soon as possible. That is the need of the hour. So still, India is not under national immunization program for this particular HPV vaccination. And government is going to play a very important role to take this particular decision and bring this vaccine as soon as possible, so that at least we can prevent this particular disease, and it is 100% preventable in nature. The important part is, before coming to this particular statement, even if you're vaccinated, go for the screening. Why? Because in vaccination, as I said, there are 14 high risk, but still the last vaccine that is still not available in India, 9 types. Gardasil 9 covers only 9 types. So other types is still, not protected by this particular vaccine. So even if you're vaccinated, it's good. That's 70 to 90% it will give you protection. But yes, if you go for regular screening after vaccination, also it will give you a fair idea even if you're expected with other strain that is not covered under the vaccine. So screening must go on as per guideline. Alternate 3 years if you're choosing a pap smear conventional test. Alternate 5 years if you're choosing this molecular test, HPV DNA testing. So management of vaccination programs during and after COVID-19 pandemic is really challenging, and usually the dose recommendation is 0, 1, 6 or 0 to 6 depending upon the vaccine that you. What I mean from 0, 1, 6 or 0 to 6 is, if you say first dose you have taken today, then the second dose will be either after 1 month or 2 months, and then the third dose will be after 6 months. So in this case, they have recommended, because of the pandemic, that even if you are going to take another dose after 12 or 15 months, then it's equally give you a good protection. That what they have validated, and that what they have noticed in some of the countries. So still, if you miss your vaccination because of this pandemic, and you can still whenever you get a chance in upcoming months, you must go and take your another dose, because don't wait for this particular vaccination. Even if you are not vaccinated, still whenever you get a chance, get yourself vaccinated with this particular vaccine. So again, European Federation of Colposcopy and European Society for Gynecological Oncology joint consideration about HPV vaccination screening program, during this particular pandemic, and they come up with a strong statement, in order to not reduce the public health benefits of organized vaccination and screening program, resumption of this activity must be carefully planned for months to come, ensuring the safety of both patients and healthcare professionals. So we all know, as last year, you can say, everywhere we don't see same situation actually. So, but screening and vaccination program almost, shut down everywhere across the country. So what does it mean is, if some of the area is not very, affected with this COVID-19 pandemic, at least we can take care of those community and start regular screening and vaccination as recommended. So then slowly and gradually, once pandemic is going to end, definitely everything has their own, and this also going to end soon. Then start this particular screening and vaccination drive across the country as soon as possible, keeping in mind both patient safety as well as healthcare professional safety. So screening and vaccination program, in order to take a decision to suspend, continue, or resume screening or vaccination program across the nation, this National Public Health Authority should maintain sufficient resource also, in future to sustain the vaccine and cervical cancer screening activities to achieve WHO goal to eliminate the cervical cancer. Because if we don't have enough, you can say, resources, definitely we are not going to achieve the target that is set by WHO. So I'm also going to throw some light what this particular WHO goal is, to eliminate the cervical cancer in in coming slides. If you want to know more about this particular cancer, I would request you to go through this particular book, especially this particular chapter number 10, Biomarkers for Early Detection of Cervical Cancer, we published last year, where we covered all gynecological cancer that I talked about in detail by subject expert. And I was also invited to contribute one chapter in preventive oncology for gynecology that was published in Springer Group, because it's very difficult to cover all the aspects in a short session. So if anyone is interested, I would like to share this chapter with you also based upon your request and your interest. So I almost covered all important aspects like common screening and vaccination so far. And I would like to throw some lights, as I said. According to Director General WHO, Dr. Tedros, we have a vaccine, we have a diagnostics, and we have a treatment also. When we have all weapons at hand, then the failure should not be the option. So what is the goal? Goal is by 2030, we need to eliminate the cervical cancer globally. And how we are going to achieve that, that is very important. Especially cervical cancer elimination as a public health problem means achieving the measurable goals, global targets to prevent and treat this particular cancer is 90-70-90. What does it mean? 90-70-90 is 90% of the girls must be fully vaccinated with HPV vaccine by age 15 years. Number one. Number two, 70% of the women must be screened using this high performance test like HPV DNA testing by age of 35. And by age 45, 90% of the women identified with the pre-invasive invasive cancer and properly managed. So today we discuss all about the management of cervical cancer by these two key tools that we have, screening and as well as vaccination. And it is recommended for both male and female. So family leader or family head need to take a charge and take care of his own family. If everyone is going to be, take responsibility, definitely that community where we belong to, at least we can take care of that part, and we convince others and educate others to, prevent this particular cancer. So thank you all of you for listening me for last, I think almost more than half an hour. So Bioservices once again is a not-for-profit and independent of any commercial and political interest. For your information, if you want to know more about women and girls health related issues and about vaccination, about screening, like what is the right test at the right time, what is the right dose at the right age, all the articles are available on this particular website, that is biobio-services.org. And the Bioservices web portal, as I introduced, I'm just going to conclude with the last statement, was created in year 2011 with a mission to facilitate knowledge transfer and raise the awareness with regard to preventive healthcare with a focus on women and girls. So thanks to all of you, and a special thanks to Dr. Somnath, my friend. And he is a active volunteer of Bioservices for a long time now, and is core member and in editorial team also. So we both trying to reach to the common mass and public or in the scientific community to bridge the gap wherever there is a gap between science and society. So I'm going to end my presentation with this note. So take home message is cervical cancer is 100% preventable. It's all up to you how you're going to manage this particular disease in your entire life. So I strongly recommend to young couples, those who are into sexually active phase, you must go for a screening. And if you're a newly married couple, the best gift you can give to your wife is this particular test. Why? Because you're going to save her life the rest of your life, so that you're going to assure that she will be with you or you will be with her, together for the rest of your life. So thanks once again, and take care of your family, whether it's your mother, sister, as I said, your wife, your daughter, your son, everyone will be protected by just taking these two precautions: right test at the right time, right dose at the right age. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It was really a wonderful talk. And it's very well said, right dose at right time. So I think we Indians usually don't follow this golden rule. And there are a lot of people I know who don't do things at right time, especially if it is related to health. Especially in rural areas, I see women, they neglect their health like anything. So as for the HPV screening, prevention, you said, is one of the key aspect. But if we just consider those rural areas where ladies are not aware of this and nobody has taught them. So you have just started a fantastic work of awareness programs everywhere. But I'm still concerned about those rural areas where there is no discussion about this awareness programs. So how a lady who has already passed her initial preventive years, how can she protect herself from the HPV infection?
Yeah, I mean, to address this particular concern, mainly in the remote area, where healthcare is not like, up to the mark, number one. And even if there is a healthcare in the remote area, people are very, reluctant to go there, and they have a lot of myth rather than the facts, because no one is there to educate them. So in order to address those community, what we have done on this particular forum, bioservices platform, we have a knowledge partner, we as a knowledge partner to a lot of NGOs. And those NGOs, they are across the country. And we try to connect some of the NGOs like from East, West, North, South. And they are really penetrating to this particular area, and they have their own team, to convince them first. And
Right.
they are conducting regular camp in every month. So let's say the camp is organized in local area in any community hall by end of this month, 31st of May, for example. So they usually start, campaigning, convincing door to door. I'm talking about before pandemic, not during pandemic. So after pandemic, again, we are going to adopt the same thing for the screening part. So volunteers from the NGO, they are playing very important role. But as a scientific community, what we are doing, whatever the recent development is there. For example, earlier, everybody knows, like, if we get vaccinated today, after 6 months, we are going to get the second dose. But today, I just acknowledge and update the knowledge part, that we can go up to the 15 months, 12 to 15 months actually. So even if we get first dose during this pandemic or before pandemic, we still have a time to go for the second dose. So these are the policies that need to be, shared constantly with this non-government organization, and their duty is to go and penetrate the ground level, and where, directly or indirectly touching their lives actually. So right. on our own website, we have a short video actually on our Facebook page, where I have captured one community in this Haryana belt, where we reach the remote and try to convince them and do the screening camp and get, this particular cancer screened free of cost, because these NGOs are like raising fund, and we are supporting them at our own capacity to connect those funding agency like social corporate responsibility and all. And as continuously, we are training them under the train the trainer program, as I said in my presentation also.
Sir, in the present scenario, the health system in India seems to have succumbed under the tremendous pandemic pressure. And standing at this time point, like down the years, 5 years or 10 years, where do you see this vaccination program for the HPV is going to be?
One thing I must assure you, that yes, vaccines save lives, number one. And now we have seen in recent past that yes, those who are vaccinated with COVID-19 first dose or so, second dose, at least you can say severity is like, reduced, that we have such evidence from, clinical practice. Some of the family members, some of the close, relatives, we have seen that. Number one. So acceptance of the vaccine is definitely going to, increase in upcoming years after pandemic. And I'm sure this particular HPV vaccination drive, as per WHO goal by 2030, every country, they have to, adopt the screening program, vaccination program at war foot level, as I said, 90, 70, 90. So at least 70% we are targeting to get vaccinated, 90% we are targeting to get, screened, and then another 90% we're trying to identify those group, who need clinical intervention, who need close management actually. So definitely we used to have like 400, 500 PCR before pandemic. Now we have thousands of real-time PCR. So screening is also going to boost, where HPV DNA testing was not, you can say, under the routine practice because of the infrastructure. But because of the COVID, I can see you can collect the sample and go for the HPV DNA testing. Because for cytology-based testing, you still need to collect the sample on site and fix it on the slide and review under the microscope. But for HPV DNA testing, you can collect sample anywhere, send the sample, because you are transferring the sample to the collection kit.
Right.
Once you transfer the sample, it can go to anywhere. So I can see both screening and vaccination, in a better coverage, greater coverage, you can say, in near future.
Only females are supposed to be, doing the screening program, or should males also do their screening?
Yes, I mean, this is a very valid and important question, because nobody think about the male screening. And this test is recommended for both male and female, number one. Vaccination is definitely yes for both and male and female. But because of the limitation on, the sampling of the male as compared to the female, because to collect the sample from the cervix by expert was very much well established. But male was, because number one, male was not very much affected as compared to female. That is why nobody, considered them as, one of the,
Correct.
we can say prime target. But yes, because it's STI, sexually transmitted infection, both the genders are equally responsible to transmit this particular virus from each other. Correct. So in case of male also, it's a very good opportunity to collect the semen sample and send it to the lab.
Okay.
And
Sir,
in that case, you don't need any kit actually. Another advantage with the male screening, you don't need any kit. We just need a sterile vial, send the semen sample to the lab. Right. So we can reduce at least transmission of this virus from male to female.
Sir, then how many doses of vaccination is recommended? 3?
It depends upon the age.
Okay.
If you start from, let's say, 9 years of age till 13, or maximum go up to the 15, we have enough data that just go for 2 doses. But if you cross, let's say, 13 years of age or 15 till 26, then you go for the 3 doses. So after 26, this vaccination is not strongly recommended, to be honest, based upon the scientific evidence, because this particular antibody titer is not up to the mark as compared to this, young age group where 2 doses is more than enough. Now, recent evidence we have seen during pandemic also that 1 dose is more than enough if, that vaccination has been done at a very early age. Like we can't start before 9, but if we give like between 9 to 13 years of age, 1 dose is also give you a very good protection. So we can save visit, we can save this money also by the right dose at the right age.
Okay. So I think, sir, with this, we would we have come to the end of our session. It was really a wonderful and enlightening talk. I think the viewers of this channel would be highly benefited, especially if they can take a strong message from this talk, that at least they should be aware of their health, and they should be also take the responsibility of the health of the females, especially in their family. So together with spreading the awareness within the family and also around us to our loved ones, I think we can save more lives, and the number of cervical cancer cases may reduce in near future. So looking towards or hoping towards a very cancer-free future, I would like to say thank you to Dr. Niaz for the time and for the wonderful talk he gave today. Thank you again.
Yeah.